This was the only spot that survived the plague of 1575. And that's why the House of Industry was founded here. Well, as well as being the healthiest spot, it surely must be the brainiest spot. Well, look at all the wonderful schools and hospitals that have come out of Channel Row and North Brunswick Street, the area of the House of Industry, and all the brains that's across the road in good old Bruner. Cheer up, Bruner, they're known everywhere. The bet down Singer and left them lying there. Singer called for mercy, but mercy wasn't there. So cheer up, Bruner, they're known everywhere. Paddy Crosby is no stranger to Dubliners. He went to school in Bruner and spent all his life teaching in Bruner, and now he's gone into retirement. And I know the people of Dublin will wish Paddy many happy days in retirement, because he put the school around the corner on the map, not only in Dublin, but all over Ireland. Beyond Brunner School is Red Cow Lane, leading into Smithfield, the one-time home of the Earl of Bective. But I think Smithfield is best known for the Maybush. The Ormond butcher boys, they used to grow their Maybush in Smithfield. And of course the Liberty boys that come over to try and cut down the Maybush and bring it back to the Coombe. And of course the boys from Smithfield that go over to the Coombe and bring back the Maybush. Now there was a little ballad made up about Bill Durham, who was the head of the men of Smithfield, and about the night that he went over to the Liberties and brought back the Maybush. But sure, later on, didn't the Liberty boys sneak back when Bill was asleep? And as the verse went, Bill Durham being up the night before was now in his flea park taking a snore when he heard the mob passing his door, Ruthery Dundee. And then Bill went out and finding no bush in Smithfield, he said, "Your soul," says Bill Durham, "I'm left all alone. Be the hokey the glory of Smithfield is gone."
I'll try and get up a bit. Yeah, try and move her up and get her in there and we start unloading.
The hospital and free school of King Charles II at Oxmanstown was found by royal charter on the 5th of December 1670. The first foundation was in Queen Street, but this building was designed by Thomais Ivory, a Corkman, and was started on the 16th of June 1773. And for generations it was known to Dubliners as the Blue Coat School. Now how it got its name, Blue Coat, was from the blue uniform worn by the boys. And at one time the boys used to wear a black leather belt around the uniform, and if they missed their lessons or were bold in class, the belts were taken from their waist and they received their slaps from their own belts. The Blue Coat School was taken over by the Duke of Tyrconnell, and the poor little blue boys were thrown out in the street. They needed the grounds and the building for James's army. Now it was here that King James reviewed the troops before riding off to the Battle of the Boyne. But of course when he rode back from the Battle of the Boyne, he came flying down Constitution Hill and up into Dublin Castle, jumped down off his horse and said, "The cowardly Irish, they raced away and left me." And fair Fanny Jennings came out of the castle gate and she says, "Well, it seems as if your Majesty has won the race." King James was back first from the Boyne. But a few days later, King Billy was back up here in Dublin, and he put the Blue Boys back in the Blue Coat School where they belonged. I usually walk up here. It's not every day I drive to Arbor Hill. The first time that I came through this gateway, my mother said I was pushed in a go-kart. She was bringing me up to see Pearson Connolly's grave in Arbor Hill. All the men who fought in Easter Week 1916. There was no memorial to them in those years. A shopkeeper, a poet, a school teacher, a shop assistant, a clerk in the volunteers office, a sculptor. You can see some of his work in Western Road Church. A poet and a dramatist, a water bailiff of the Dublin Corporation, a clerk in Kennedy's Bakery, worked in the Treasury Department of Dublin Corporation, a railway clerk, a silk weaver from the Liberties, a trade union and socialist organiser, a newspaper manager, editor, writer. 16 dead men, 14 lying here in a quicklime grave, Roger Casement in Glasnevin and Thomas Kent in Cork. Among all the tragedy and stories of Easter Week 1916, outstanding in my mind at the moment is the romance of Joseph Mary Plunkett and Grace Gifford, who are married in Kilmainham jail a few hours before his execution. Whenever I think of Plunkett, I always think of his beautiful poem, The Presence of God. I see his blood upon the rose, and in the stars the glory of his eyes. His body gleams amid eternal snows, his tears fall from the sky. I see his face in every flower, the thunder and the singing of the birds are but his voice, and carven by his power, rocks are his written words. All pathways by his feet are worn, his strong heart stirs the ever-beating sea, his crown of thorns is twined with every thorn, his cross is every tree. There used to be an old saying in Dublin, "High for Bob and high for Joan and high for Stonybatter." And why wouldn't the high for Stonybatter? For it's the oldest place name in Dublin, dating back thousands of years. Bohernadluck, the road of stones on its way to Tara. This was so far out of Dublin city that the people of Stonybatter used to say, excuse me, are you going into Dublin tomorrow? Well, if you're going into Dublin tomorrow, I want you to get a message for me. Of course, that was when the walls were around Dublin and they had to cross over to Parliament Street to go in through the gates into the city of Dublin. And are you living in Stonybatter?
I'm living here, yes, just off here in Stonybatter.
Very good.
For 27 years.
Do you like it around here?
Oh, yes, it's quite nice here.
Yeah, it's a good
quite
spot.
Quite nice, all
yeah.
right.
Are you out doing your shopping or your...
No, just out there. It wasn't too well. I had a bit of sore throat. I was up at the chemist there getting a few tablets. Just didn't shave or nothing this morning.
You're all right.
I laid too long in my bed,
What about me? Stonybatter looks up to Manor Street, the birthplace of Austin Clarke, the poet, and it looks down to Blackhall Place, called after Thomas Blackwall, the Lord Mayor of Dublin. Yous have all heard of Biddy Mulligan, the pride of the Coombe. Well, this is Larry Mulligan, the pride of Stonybatter. I've wandered north and how I loved it, by Stonybatter and Arbor Hill, and all around the morning star, where Dublin's poor are welcome still. Yous caught me. Now yous all know where I get me knowledge of old Dublin. From the wonderful second-hand books